Oh, Lauren. That is Lauren. So me and Lauren are going to debate on physics one of these days because Lauren thinks that we know everything there is to know about technology. She does not think that the government hides technology from us, which Lauren's very smart. She's very good at debating, but she is crazy if she doesn't think that there's technology that the government hides from us. Because I think that that's like one of the easiest things in the world to be certain about. I mean, uh look at freaking 9/11, for example. Look at like what the government, you know what, that's a perfect segue actually to what I was already going to talk about, that the government just flat out came out and said that they have access to time travel technology. So let me go right on over to that, Lauren, and let's see what you think of that. Where is this story? So literally, the US comes out and says they can manipulate time and space. So here we go. From what is this? Interest Engineering. And I got multiple sources too if anybody wants to give me shit about this. So, and this ties into what I'm saying about how I think Trump had access to time travel or access to seeing the future before most people. So I'll tell you that in a second, but take a look at this. So, US official claims America can manipulate time and space in a bombshell tech reveal. This is one day ago. America just stepped into what sounds like the plot of a science fiction movie during a major science and technology conference in Texas. The Trump administration's top science official claimed that the United States now possesses technology that can manipulate time and space. What do you think about that, Lauren? And leave distance annihilated. So, like portals, basically. Michael Kratsios, director of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, made the striking statements on April 14 during his keynote address to the Endless Frontiers retreat in Austin. The event brought together government officials, scientists, and business leaders to discuss America's future and innovation. Kratsios said the U.S. is entering the early light of the new golden age of America, calling for a renowned national push into advanced technology. The advanced technology that they hide from us under the Invention Secrecy Act. And there's literally 20 people who've created advanced technology that have been murdered in very mysterious ways. So Kratsios did not clarify whether these claims were literal or metaphorical, but the language has already sparked intense speculation online. Pushed to revive mid-century momentum, throughout his remarks, Kratsios compared current progress to the technological leaps of the 20th century, reference to the Apollo missions, nuclear expansion, and the rise of the internet. He warned that innovation has slowed in recent decades, hindered by a regulatory system born in the 1970s. That would be called the Club of Rome Limits to Growth Initiative. If you don't know what the Club of Rome Limits to Growth Initiative is, they were freaked out because they thought the population was growing too fast. And they said, oh, shit, well, if we keep making energy cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, then there's going to be more and more and more people. And we hate people, so we can't allow our energy to get cheaper. So we have to just thwart all that. You know what? Let's make up this BS thing that says it's people who are bad for the world. So we need less people. It's gas that's bad for the world. It's oil and emissions that are bad for the world, when in reality, it's actually very good for the world. Like, what is it? This, what comes from oil is actually good for plants. There's more plants in the world than ever before. People try to say that like that's bad for the environment. No, it's actually very good for the environment. So glad Kratsios brought that up. I'm glad he's in that line of thinking, because they literally, like, you know, I'm not going to bring it up yet, but I've shown you the chart before that shows the amount of nuclear reactors built by a year. It's like 15, 20 per year in the United States, from like the 50s to the 70s. Then boom, from the 70s to today, like 4 of them are built. So who the hell would have chose to do that? The people that want less people in the world. He says, quote, advances have not stopped, but something has gone wrong. Kratsios said he pointed to a decline in nuclear reactor development, stalled aerospace ambitions, and slower transportation systems as examples of missed opportunities. He also emphasized the importance of shifting from reliance on cheap labor and immigration to productively enhancing technologies. So replacing like the shit labor factory jobs with robots, basically. And that's what Elon talks about when he says we're going to have a universal basic income because of how cheap it's going to be to make things eventually. He says, quote, we can build in new ways that let us do more with less, he said, or we can borrow from the future. Oh, like the boomers who literally stole our future? You already did a lot of borrowing from the future. I mean, I'm like almost tempted to say that, like, not that I'm a reparations person, but if there were to be reparations, the only reparations that should be taking place is freaking boomers to millennials, because they literally stole from us. The boomers literally stole from us. Like they grabbed onto $36 trillion from the future, pulled it forward to themselves, used it for bullshit, and then stuck us with the bill. Kratsios described this moment as a turning point, urging the country to escape gravity of the past few decades and re-enter an era of bold invention. National security, tech diplomacy, and a call to protect innovation. Kratsios also tied technological innovation to U.S. national security and foreign policy. He outlined a three-part strategy to protect American innovation from global competitors, particularly China, who we propped up, by the way, retardedly, by safeguarding intellectual property, securing supply chains, and enforcing export controls. Interesting. Export controls. That's a weird one. Let's circle back to that. We must restrict foreign access to sensitive data and strengthen oversight in international collaborators, he stated. You know what? Good example of that is that we literally, like, even Biden prohibited like tech from going to China, like American tech, like certain things like critical semiconductors, AI, quantum computers. But somehow NVIDIA chips were still making their way over to China, probably because there's like a huge black market for smuggling technology China's not capable of making, and then they reverse engineer it and figure out how to do it eventually, like, which is probably the vast majority of how they've even gotten close to catching up to us, is just like stealing our stuff, copying it, and then selling it at a cheaper price to try to put our companies out of business. Like any ladies who are watching, you probably know this with the handbags. They, what is it, like Louis Vuitton's the expensive ones, they'll sell them for like $20,000, and then China will make an almost identical one, sell for $200 in the same market. So really undercutting all of our biggest businesses here. He said, yep, we must restrict foreign access. Yep, said that. Speech reinforced the administration's America First stance on research, security, and economic competition. The strategy builds on recent policy shifts that increase scrutiny of foreign investments into the U.S. tech firms and require universities to disclose funding sources. Oh, yeah, like a shit ton of Harvard's money comes from China. I should pull that up in a second. Let me see. China money to Harvard. Harvard receipt. Oh, yep. Look, let me show you this quick. So, do you think this might influence what you get taught? Bless me and bless Harvard's soul, because I think Trump needs to rain hell upon it and kind of figuratively burn it down and let a new, better thing rise up in the ashes of what Harvard has become. So yeah, China, look at that, 70 million. This is 2019. So I don't know what it's at on. This is by the U.S. Department of Education. That needs to go away. So why would China have such a vested interest in Harvard? Well, because they just want to make our young people retarded, maybe. But let's go back to the article. So, yep, require university to disclose funding sources. And I mean, interesting, that's what's disclosed. Imagine what's not disclosed. In a call to action, he urged innovators to retreat from politics. Quote, you and your fellow Americans cannot afford to give up on the nation. He said, all of us must labor to preserve the inheritance of the American century. He closed by restating his bold claim it's a choice of individuals to craft new technologies themselves, scientific discoveries that will bend time and space. All right. Close by saying it's the choices of individuals to craft new technologies and give themselves to the scientific discoveries that will bend time and space. All right. So is that what everybody's freaking out about? Or was there something more? Because that's all they got. I got something much crazier than that. But let's see if the Daily Mail has a crazier one. This was interesting engineering. Let's see if the Daily Mail says anything different. Now it says it has achieved the ability to manipulate space and time with new technology. The Trump administration quietly revealed it has futuristic technologies that literally bend time during a speech in the golden age of American innovation. The White House director Michael, declared the U.S. is currently that the U.S. currently has the ability to manipulate time and space and leave distance annihilated. Kratzios made bold statement Monday during. All right. So they're citing that one quote. Let's see. Control F. Time. Kratzios referenced this again at the end of the speech. So we saw that. Currently, there is no device publicly known that can literally manipulate time and space or make sense or make distance irrelevant. Well, let's look at this. Nikola Tesla inventions. All right. So the inventions of Tesla, altering power systems, the development of the radio, Tesla coil, fluorescent neon. Which one was the one that they said could mess with time? Let's type in Tesla time machine. All right. While their claims and theories suggest Nikola Tesla worked on a time machine or a teleportation device, there is no concrete evidence to support the idea. Tesla is widely recognized for its contributions to electricity and wireless technology, but time travel remains a concept in science fiction. Lack of evidence, rumors, no viral sources, blah, 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 science fiction origin. But what there is confirmation of, first person to see Tesla documents. All right, so check this out. The mystery of Nikola Tesla's missing files. Oh. All right. 3 weeks after Nikola Tesla's death, an electrical engineer from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology was tasked with evaluating his papers to determine whether they contained any ideas of significant value. According to the declassified files, Dr. John G. Trump reported that his analysis showed Tesla's efforts to be primarily of speculative, philosophical, and promotional character, and said the papers did not include new, sound, workable principles or methods for realizing such results. The scientist's name undoubtedly rings a bell, as John G. Trump was the uncle of 45th President Donald John Trump. The younger brother of Trump's father, Fred, he helped design X-ray machines that greatly helped cancer patients and worked on radar research for allies during World War II. Donald Trump himself cited his uncle's credentials as often during his presidential campaign. My uncle used to tell me about nuclear before nuclear was nuclear. He once told an interviewer. At the time, FBI pointed to Dr. Trump's report as evidence that Tesla's vaunted death ray particle beam weapon did not exist outside rumors and speculation. But in fact, the U.S. government itself was split in its response to Tesla's technology. Mark Seifer, author of biography Wizard, The Life and Times of Nikola Tesla, says a group of military personnel at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, including Brigadier General L.C. Craig, had a very different opinion of Tesla ideas. Craig was the first person to ever fly a jet plane from the military, so he was like the John Glenn of the day, Seifer says. He said there's something to this particle beam weapon is real. So you have two different groups of one dismissing Tesla's invention, another group saying that there's really something to it. There's a nagging question of the missing files. When Tesla died, his estate was to go to his nephew, Sava Kosnovic, who at the time was the Yugoslav ambassador to the U.S., thanks to his familial connection with Serbia's most celebrated innovator. According to the recently classified documents, some in the FBI feared Kosnovic was trying to wrest the control of Tesla's technology in order to make such information available to the enemy, and even considered arresting him to prevent this. In 1952, a U.S. court declared Kosnovic rightful heir to his uncle's estate. Tesla's files and other materials were sent to Belgrade, Serbia, where they now reside in Nikola Tesla's museum there. But while the FBI originally recorded some 80 trunks among Tesla's effects or Tesla's files, only 60 arrived in Belgrade, Cypher says. Maybe they packed 80 into 60, but there's possibility that the government did keep missing trunks. For the 5-part history episode, all right, despite John D. Trump's dismissive assessment of Tesla's ideas immediately after his death, the military did try to incorporate particle beam weaponry in the decades following World War II. Cypher says, notably, the inspection of death ray fueled Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiatives or Star Wars program in the 1980s. If the government's still using Tesla's ideas to power its technology, Cypher explains that could explain why some files related to the innovators still remain classified. All right, let me ask you something. So, what happened here was that, let me make the screen nice and big so we're all on the same page here. If Trump, or just pretend you're anybody, if the smartest man in the world dies and the FBI goes to look at his stuff because he has some technology that might be super relevant to national security, and it's in a field where very few people know about the stuff, so the FBI obviously doesn't know about it. So they go ask you, because you're a professional in this thing too, one of the very few people, and they say, hey, can you take a look at this? We want to know if any of it's important. I'm not saying all people would do this, but don't you think that some people might just keep it quiet if they see like, oh, wow, this is a good idea. This is a powerful idea. I'm definitely not going to tell them about this because they might not feel comfortable with me being alive if I say what this could do and they know that I know that. Because, imagine the craziest possible technology you could imagine. And Trump's uncle understands this. The FBI doesn't. He's reading it. What benefit is it to him to say, oh, yeah, this does this crazy thing? Like, they could kill him for that. They could be paranoid about him. They could potentially keep eyes on him forever because of the fear of him revealing that someday. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is, like, imagine the advantage that you and your family would have if, like, you're smart enough to understand this stuff but not smart enough to invent it, and then you get to be the first one to look at the notes of the smartest man in the world. Like, I see the incentive both ways of him keeping quiet. Like, one, for his protection, two, for, like, his advantage. And the way that Trump, like, yeah, sure, he could just be smart, but the way he will do things that you say, why would he do that? Like, that seemed like a really stupid thing to do. And then it works out. The way he's able to play chicken with people all the time where he calls their bluff. He seems like he knows they're going to cave. Again, could just be great business instincts, but then you have weird stuff like the life and times of Barron Trump. This one's weird. Not trying to go down some crazy rabbit hole here, but like, you're gonna think I'm crazy if I don't show you each thing that people point out with this. Life of Barron Trump book. All right. Bear with me here. Bear with me. I know Lauren's hating this right now if she's watching still, but that's going to make it fun to debate. So let's see. Let's go on Amazon. This is the same one. Yeah. So in the 1890s, Ingersoll Lockwood authored a series of children's books about the escapades of his character, the young Barron Trump. Travels and adventures of little Barron Trump and his wonderful dog Bulger, and Barron Trump's marvelous underground journey. The series followed by a literary trend of the time, which had child protagonists adventuring to enchanted lands and encountering fantastic beings like the swamp. Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, Frank Baum's The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and two famous examples of this genre. Lockwood's Barron is an aristocrat young youth bored with his life of luxury in Castle Trump. Searching for adventure, Barron travels to Russia to discover an underground world beneath his feet. He journeys downward and finds himself lost in peculiar settings surrounded by the strange inhabitants of this new world. The stories follow his adventures and eventual struggle to find his way back to the surface left behind. The Barron Trump novels were obscured by more successful children's books. Lockwood's tall tales seemed to be destined for literally dustbin, but the election of Donald Trump sparked renewed interest. I'd never read this book. Some of you guys may have read this book. Some of you may have never even heard about this, but who knows like what it means, if it's like just coincidence, whatever, but it's very weird that in the 1890s, somebody wrote a book about a rich boy named Baron Trump that was going on adventures to Russia. So make of that what you will. There's more of these too. I think it's like a 3-part series. Yeah, Baron Trump Complete Collection. Oh yeah, then there's this one. There's this one too. Right. So it's called The Last. This guy Ingersoll Lockwood. By the way, it was an alias, Ingersoll Lockwood. So nobody knows who this guy actually was, which makes it even weirder. So this one's about the entire east side of New York City is in a state of uproar. Mobs of vast size are organizing under the lead of anarchists and socialists and threaten to plunder and despoil the houses of the rich who have wronged and oppressed them for so many years. The last president, this is from the book The Last President, 1896, 1900, or The Last President by Ingersoll Lockwood, is a surrealistic 1986 novel where Americans are protesting a corrupt election process. Oh my God. Like, oh my God, what? The election process, while the president's hometown of New York City is fearing the collapse of the republic after the transition to presidential power. If this reminds you of attitudes after the 26th election, when you're not alone. During 2017, this book, as well as Lockwood's 2 children's books, The Travel and Adventures of Little Baron Trump and His Wonderful Dog Bulger, and Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, drew attention due to its uncanny connections with President. Like, what the fuck is this, guys? What the fuck is this? Like, I like, it's not the first time I'm looking at this, but just like looking at it again and thinking about it, like, it gives me chills. Let's see who thinks I'm crazy. Who is weirded out by this? Is it possible Trump named him after these books? Yeah, anything's possible. I mean, yeah, Jordan, I think so too. Like, yeah, sure, the name Baron Trump, that could be a coincidence, but he's a rich kid, and they're talking about them living in New York, that he's rich. And then, like, what the hell does a kid's journey to the center of the earth to like fight evil creatures have to do with like another book in the series called The Last President? What the fuck? The Last President? And protests in New York, like protesting the outcomes of the election. I mean, come on, guys.